T. My dad's second wedding. The tag on my chest read, Housekeeper. His new wife smirked. You're just staff here. No chair, no plate, no place. My brother chuckled. Food as for family. I stood tall, slid off the family ring and said, then I'm no longer your family. Their smiles vanished, but that was only the beginning. Imagine being at your own father's wedding, where a name tag on your chest doesn't say daughter, but housekeeper. Then your brother blocks you from the buffet loudly proclaiming, food is for family only. In that moment, something inside me didn't just break. It crystallized. I knew I would burn it all down. You're standing in the corner of a luxury ballroom at the Ritz-Carlton. My father's toasting his new marriage, surrounded by 450 of San Francisco's elite. And I'm wearing the same black dress as the catering staff, because my name tag, Victoria, it says, housekeeper, not daughter. Housekeeper. I saw my brother Alexander laughing. As I approached the buffet, he stepped in front of me, announcing loud enough for 3 tables to hear. Food is for family only. He smirked. Honestly, Victoria, know your place. Years of accepting their contempt, hoping for recognition that would never come, ended right there. I stood tall, a real smile forming because I knew something he didn't. In 72 hours he'd be in handcuffs. See, 3 months before that humiliation, it became the catalyst for the most calculated corporate takedown in San Francisco history. While they were labeling me the help, I was secretly controlling 40% of their company, Sterling Industries, through a web of shell corporations. While they were denying me a seat at the family table, I was preparing to take their seats in the boardroom. My name is Victoria Sterling. I'm 32, and this is how being called a housekeeper led to me putting my brother in handcuffs and my father in bankruptcy. Let me paint you a picture of the Sterling Empire. Sterling Industries, $280 million in assets, a gleaming 45-story tower in downtown San Francisco. My father, Richard Sterling, built it from nothing. Or so he loved to remind everyone. I, on the other hand, graduated Harvard MBA with distinction in 2016 and founded Nexus Advisory. By 2023, we were generating $45 million in annual revenue. Not bad for what my father called Victoria's little hobby. The first real sign of their contempt came at Thanksgiving 2023. As Alexander bragged about closing a $50 million acquisition, Dad raised his glass. At least Alexander gives me grandchildren and real value to the Sterling name, he announced. Some people contribute to legacy. Others just exist on the periphery. 2 days later, Alexander with Cassandra, my father's wife of barely 18 months, CC'd emailed. Stop pretending your little consulting firm matters. You're embarrassing yourself. Maybe focus on finding a husband instead. What Alexander didn't know, I'd already purchased 8% of Sterling Industries through my first shell company, Evergreen Holdings LLC. Shares bought from a disgruntled board member, Eleanor Blackwood, who shared my vision for accountability. My father had dismissed my proposal for a joint venture 6 months earlier, actually laughing and tossing my presentation in the trash. That presentation projected how Nexus Advisory could save Sterling Industries $30 million. But why would he listen to his disappointment of a daughter? Then, in January 2024, it got worse. I accidentally stumbled upon a folder marked, Sterling Estate Planning Confidential. My father's new will. Dated January 15, 2024. Alexander would inherit 100% of Sterling Industries, all real estate $180 million in trust. Cassandra, the new wife, $30 million, a vineyard and a vacation home. Even Alexander's ex-wife got a trust for her kids. My name? It appeared exactly once. In the disinheritance clause. Victoria Sterling shall receive no portion of the estate as she has chosen to pursue interests contrary to the family's values, and has failed to contribute meaningfully to the Sterling legacy. Failed to contribute meaningfully. The words blurred. 8 years of building my own company, saving 12 major clients from bankruptcy, 200 employees depending on me. None of it meaningful enough for Richard Sterling. I photographed every page. That evening I opened another browser tab. If I wasn't family enough to inherit, I'd simply buy what was never going to be given. By February 2024, the stakes were impossibly clear. Sterling Industries was orchestrating a massive merger with Pinnacle Corporation, a $500 million deal. Alexander would become CEO of a near billion-dollar entity, but Nexus Advisory had 200 employees. 3 of our largest clients had Sterling Industries connections. One word from Richard or Alexander, and my company would be ruined. They'd already proven they were vindictive. We'll make sure certain consultancies never work in this city again, Alexander had boasted, loud enough for me to hear. The threat wasn't subtle. Then, at 11:47 p.m. on February 28th, an encrypted email from Marcus Coleman, Sterling Industries CFO. Urgent. They're destroying evidence. Alexander was destroying all records of Meridian Holdings transactions. The $15 million they stole from employee pensions. If you want proof of the embezzlement, we have less than 10 days. He'd hidden copies but was terrified. They've already threatened my daughter's scholarship. Please tell me you have a plan. A plan? I looked at my sticky notes mapping out Sterling Industries. Yes, I had a plan. But it would cost me everything if it failed. March in San Francisco meant 3 things. My father's wedding on the 15th, the shareholders meeting on the 18th, and exactly 72 hours between them. The wedding invitation, printed on paper that cost more than most people's rent, specified my attendance. The shareholders meeting notice confirmed Alexander's rise to power. 72 hours. That's all I'd have to coordinate with lawyers, compile evidence, protect witnesses, and ensure the SEC would be present. Most hostile takeovers take months. I had a weekend. My phone vibrated. Eleanor Blackwood. The March 18th vote will reshape everything. Be ready. I've convinced 4 other board members to attend. They have no idea what's really coming. P.S. I heard about the wedding arrangements. Stay strong. Wedding arrangements. Cassandra's planner had emailed. You'll be in the receiving line as household staff coordinator. Please wear a simple black dress. Nothing that would distract from the wedding party. 3 days to go from household staff coordinator to the person who would bring down an empire. The timeline was insane, but they'd spent years making me feel insane for believing I had value. Time to prove them wrong. The dress fitting 5 days before the wedding. Cassandra insisted all wedding participants attend. We don't need you in photos, she announced. You'll be managing the coat check. Much more suitable for your skill set. Alexander, scrolling on his phone, added. Just wear something simple like staff would. Nothing designer. It would look desperate on you anyway. The boutique fell silent. 6 bridesmaids tried not to stare. Richard emerged, impeccable in his new tuxedo. Do you understand your place, Victoria? You keep showing up to family events, acting like you belong at the main table. Don't embarrass us. Blend into the background. Know your place, Cassandra added. You're lucky to even be invited. You're absolutely right. I replied calmly. I should know my place. I paused, letting them think they'd won. I'll make sure I'm exactly where I need to be. As I left, my phone buzzed. FedEx. Package from SEC delivered to your office. Signature confirmed. The Securities and Exchange Commission had received my formal whistleblower complaint. They'd be attending the shareholders' meeting as observers. Alexander and Richard were so busy putting me in my place, they hadn't noticed I was about to flip the entire board. 3 days before the wedding, my apartment transformed into a war room. 7 laptop screens displayed my shell companies. Evergreen Holdings, Cascade Ventures, Marina Bay Investments, Golden Gate Capital, Presidio Partners, Sunset Holdings, and Bridge Trust. Together, they controlled 40% of Sterling Industries. The Sterling family voting power is about to get very interesting, my lawyer, Jennifer Walsh, said. You've spent 5 years and $47 million acquiring these positions. They never saw it coming because you bought from disgruntled employees, ex-board members, Richard's former mistresses, people he'd burned. The centerpiece of our evidence sat in a locked briefcase. A USB drive from Marcus Coleman. 3 years of forensic accounting. $15 million siphoned from employee pension funds through Meridian Holdings. A shell company Alexander thought was untraceable. Wire transfers, canceled checks. Even recorded phone conversations. Deloitte's forensic team has verified everything, Jennifer confirmed. 3 independent auditors, all willing to testify. The evidence is ironclad. I pulled up emails from Eleanor Blackwood dating back to 2019. She'd been my silent mentor, guiding my share purchases, ensuring I stayed hidden. I've been waiting 5 years for someone brave enough to expose them. Her latest message read, Your father destroyed my husband's company. Watching his empire crumble from the inside will be poetic justice. My phone rang. Marcus Coleman panicked. Alexander's asking questions about who's been buying shares. He's hired investigators. Let him investigate, I replied, staring at my reflection. In 6 days, none of his questions will matter. The next day, March 13th, Eleanor invited me for tea. Your father doesn't know I've been helping you, she said, stirring her Earl Grey. She slid a manila folder across the table. 3 years of email exchanges between Richard and Alexander from Sterling Industries servers. Discussions about diluting minority shareholders, handling difficult board members. Your father made one mistake, Eleanor explained. He kept me on the board to avoid a lawsuit. That gave me access to everything. Every dirty deal, every betrayal, every crime. Why didn't you act sooner? I asked. Because I needed someone with clean hands. She smiled, cold and satisfied. Someone they'd underestimated so completely. Besides, revenge is a dish best served at a wedding reception, don't you think? The email headers were damning. Impossible to fake. Monday morning, Eleanor said. When you walk into that boardroom, you won't be alone. I've spent 3 years turning board members against them. They just don't know it yet. Marcus Coleman looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. We met in a Soma parking garage on March 14th, the night before the wedding. He handed me a locked briefcase. 2,000 pages, he whispered, glancing around. 3 years of Alexander's fraud. Canceled checks with his signature. Wire transfers totaling $15 million. The crown jewel. A recorded Zoom call where Alexander explicitly told his personal banker to make the pension money disappear. These documents have been notarized and backed up in 5 locations, Marcus confirmed. The FBI has been notified but agreed to wait until after Monday's meeting to act. Alexander was still investigating who was buying shares. He had no idea about this. A text from Alexander interrupted. Strange market activity in our shares. Someone's been accumulating. Find out who. Marcus went pale. He's getting paranoid. After Monday, his paranoia won't matter, I assured him. Your daughter's Stanford scholarship, I reminded him. Eleanor Blackwood personally guaranteed it. Full ride. He managed a weak smile. You know what's ironic? Alexander taught me everything about forensic accounting. He created his own destroyer. I locked the briefcase. $15 million stolen from hardworking employees. These documents will be projected on a 100-inch screen in front of the entire board. I promised Marcus. His victims will get justice. March 15, 2024. The Ritz-Carlton San Francisco gleamed. 450 guests. CEOs, senators, judges. My name tag waited. Victoria Housekeeper. Not Victoria Sterling. The wedding coordinator, a nervous woman, told me. Mrs. Morgan Sterling specifically requested this arrangement. You're to stand by the service entrance. No assigned seating. Richard walked past me during his entrance, his eyes sliding over me like I was furniture. Cassandra paused, stage whispering. Staff should stay in the service area. We don't want any confusion about who belongs here. All of San Francisco's elite witnessed her pronouncement. My phone vibrated. Eleanor Blackwood from the third row had sent a photo of my name tag with the caption, "Evidence collected." The reception was worse. 450 place settings. No seat for me. When I approached the buffet, Alexander materialized, blocking my path. "Food is for family only." He laughed. "Honestly, Victoria, know your place." That's when it solidified. Years of their contempt ended. I stood straighter. I looked Alexander directly in the eyes and smiled. A real smile. Because I knew. The moment arrived during Richard's toast. He stood, champagne flute raised, Cassandra glowing beside him. "Family," Richard declared, his voice carrying, "is about contribution. It's about adding value. Some people," his eyes found me, standing by the service door, "simply exist on the periphery, never quite measuring up." The room applauded. Alexander raised his glass toward me with a mocking salute. Cassandra's friends tittered. I walked forward, every step deliberate. Crossing the entire ballroom, conversations died. Forks stopped moving. Richard's smile faltered. I reached the head table. I removed the family ring. My grandmother's ring, the last person in the family who'd believed in me. I set it on the table in front of Richard. "Family," I said, my voice carrying the same clarity as his toast. "If I'm just staff, then you're just another company to take over." Richard's face went white. Alexander started to stand, but I was already walking away. 450 members of San Francisco's elite watched me leave through the main entrance, not the service door. In the parking lot, I pulled out my phone and typed 5 words to Jennifer Walsh. "Execute project revelation. Full acceleration." Her response was immediate. "Understood. SEC notified. Deloitte's team activated. Board members confirmed for Monday. All systems go." They had exactly 71 hours and 23 minutes left of their empire. The next 48 hours blurred. My apartment was command central. Jennifer and her 12 lawyers worked in shifts, preparing SEC filings, shareholder notifications, cease and desist orders. Every document had to be perfect. Sunday, 2 p.m. Deloitte's team delivered their report. "The embezzlement is worse than we thought," the lead auditor said. "It's not just $15 million. There's another $8 million hidden in offshore accounts. $23 million total." Sunday, 6 p.m. The SEC confirmed. James Mitchell, senior investigator, would personally observe Monday's meeting. "If your evidence holds, we'll make arrests on site." Sunday, 11 p.m. 17 of 23 board members confirmed they'd attend in person. Eleanor had done her work well. They smelled blood. Monday, 3 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I held the USB drive. They'd been planning this for me for years. Monday, 6 a.m. Marcus Coleman's final confirmation. I'm in the building. All original documents are in the boardroom safe. Alexander has no idea. Monday, 7 a.m. I put on my best suit. Armani. The one I'd worn to close my biggest client deal. In 2 hours, the Sterling Empire would face its reckoning. March 18, 2024, 9 a.m. Sterling Tower, 45th floor boardroom. Alexander's Kingdom. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay. A mahogany table. A 100-inch presentation screen. "The Pinnacle acquisition will position us as the dominant force in West Coast logistics," Alexander proclaimed. The double doors opened. I walked in, flanked by 5 lawyers from Walsh & Associates. The room fell silent. Alexander's laser pointer clattered. "What the hell are you doing here?" Richard stood, his face already red. "This is a closed session. Security. I'm here as the designated representative of 40% of Sterling Industries shareholders," I announced. Jennifer Walsh stepped forward with the documentation. "According to your corporate bylaws, any shareholder group controlling more than 25% can demand immediate board attention." The 100-inch screen behind Alexander changed. My legal team had taken control. Suddenly, the ownership structure of Sterling Industries filled the screen. 7 shell companies, all leading back to one name, Victoria Sterling. "That's impossible," Alexander stammered. "You don't have Evergreen Holdings 8%, Cascade Ventures 7%, Marina Bay Investments 6%. Should I continue?" I moved to the center of the room. 40% total ownership, accumulated over 5 years from shareholders who were tired of the Sterling family's mismanagement. Eleanor Blackwood stood slowly, a satisfied smile. I motioned to pause the merger discussion and address this new stakeholder concern. "Seconded," said 4 board members simultaneously. Richard stood there, mouth opening and closing like a landed fish. His empire's control structure crumbled on the screen. But I wasn't done. "Good morning, board members," I said, taking my place at the podium. "I believe you know me as the housekeeper. Before we discuss the merger," I clicked to the next slide. "The board needs to address a more pressing matter. $23 million missing from employee pension funds." The screen exploded with evidence. 47 slides. Meticulously documented fraud. Cancel checks with Alexander's signature. Wire transfer confirmations. Bank statements. "This is fabricated," Alexander shouted. "You can't just." Every document has been authenticated by 3 independent sources, Jennifer Walsh interrupted. Mr. Coleman from accounting can attest to their authenticity. Marcus stood up. I've been documenting this fraud for 3 years. Every transfer, every forged authorization, every deleted email. I have copies. The room erupted. Board members shouted questions. Richard slammed his fist on the table. But I kept clicking. Slide 23. An email from Alexander to his personal banker. Subject line. Pension reallocation complete. Slide 31. Security footage of Alexander accessing pension accounts at 2 a.m. Slide 39. The smoking gun. A recorded Zoom call where Alexander explicitly discussed hiding the stolen funds. This is illegal recording. Alexander protested. You can't use. Actually, James Mitchell stood up, his SEC badge gleaming. We can. I'm James Mitchell, Securities and Exchange Commission. We've been investigating Sterling Industries for 6 months, based on Miss Sterling's whistleblower complaint. This evidence has been submitted to federal prosecutors. The color drained from Alexander's face as 2 FBI agents entered the boardroom. Alexander Sterling, you're under arrest for embezzlement, wire fraud, and violation of ERISA pension regulations. Dad. Alexander looked desperately at Richard. Do something. But Richard couldn't even stand. He slumped in his chair as the agents cuffed his son. The metallic click of handcuffs echoed. This is insane. It's a setup. She's lying. Alexander struggled. Mr. Sterling, James Mitchell pulled up his tablet. We have your signed confession from December's recorded call. You explicitly stated, and I quote, make the pension money disappear into Meridian before the audit. Would you like to hear the recording? On the conference phone, Cassandra's voice crackled. Richard, what's happening? The news is saying Alexander was arrested. Eleanor Blackwood stood up. I motion for an immediate vote of no confidence in Richard Sterling as CEO and chairman. Seconded. Came from 4 board members simultaneously. The vote was swift and brutal. 18 for removal. 3 against. 2 abstaining. Richard Sterling, the man who'd built an empire, was stripped of his power in less than 60 seconds. Furthermore, Eleanor continued, I nominate Victoria Sterling for an independent board seat, effective immediately. This time the vote was 18-5 in favor. Trading had been halted. Sterling Industries stock was in freefall. The merger with Pinnacle was dead. Everything Richard and Alexander had worked toward evaporated. The Housekeeper motion passes, Eleanor announced. Meeting adjourned. As the FBI let Alexander out, he turned. You destroyed us, your own family. No, I replied, gathering my papers. You destroyed yourselves. I just made sure everyone could see it. Richard remained frozen in his chair. His empire, his legacy, his carefully crafted reputation. All in ruins. The Housekeeper had cleaned house. The legal dominoes fell fast and hard. Within 3 hours, federal prosecutors unsealed a 47-count indictment for Alexander. Sterling Industries faced a $75 million fine, separate Department of Labor investigation, and class action lawsuits exceeding $200 million. But I wasn't interested in revenge theater. That afternoon, I sat with Jennifer Walsh and Sterling Industries interim CEO. Every penny stolen from the pension fund will be restored, I stated. Full restitution plus interest, paid from company reserves and Alexander's frozen assets. That's nearly $30 million, the interim CEO protested. Then Sterling Industries better find it, I replied. Those employees worked their entire careers for that money. Richard, stripped of his titles, watched as his personal assets were frozen. The mansion, the yacht, the art collection, all potentially subject to seizure. By 5 p.m., the pension fund received its first emergency payment of $10 million. The rest would follow. Justice isn't revenge, it's accountability. I told the employee committee, your retirements are safe. Marcus Coleman pulled me aside. They offered me chief financial officer. You've earned it, I replied. What about you? You could be CEO. No, I said firmly. I don't want their empire. I just wanted my dignity back. The personal aftermath was swift and merciless. Cassandra filed for divorce within 48 hours, but her prenuptial agreement was ironclad. She'd get nothing from frozen assets. The $500,000 wedding became the most expensive humiliation in San Francisco social history. I'm a victim too, she told reporters. Alexander's situation grew worse. His wife filed for sole custody. His country club revoked his membership. He sat in federal detention. Bail denied. Richard, aged 10 years and 10 days, was alone in his mansion, staff dismissed, accounts frozen, awaiting charges. He became a ghost. The society invitations stopped. His phone stopped ringing. I received a letter from him. Victoria, I know you won't respond, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I see now what I refused to see before. You were the only one with real strength. I was so blinded by my own prejudices. I don't ask for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know. I filed it with my lawyer unanswered. Apologies without change are just manipulation. Alexander's letter from detention was shorter, manipulative. Sister, we both know this has gone too far. Recant your testimony. I kept that one as evidence. Cassandra tried Instagram. Girl power. Women in business. The woman who'd labeled me housekeeper now wanted to be inspiration buddies. The most surprising contact came from my mother's sister. A letter. Inside, a photograph I'd never seen. My mother holding infant me. Handwritten note. My brilliant daughter will change the world. Below it, my aunt wrote, your mother saw this coming. She told me Richard would diminish you. She made me promise to send this when you finally stood up to him. She'd be so proud. That letter I kept. The rest went into a folder labeled, no response necessary. Setting boundaries after a lifetime of disrespect required surgical precision. All communication with the Sterling family went through legal counsel. Any direct contact was harassment. I blocked Richard, Alexander, and Cassandra on every platform. The restraining order against Cassandra became necessary when she showed up at my office 3 times in a week, tearfully telling security she was my stepmother. Therapy helped me process the trauma I'd normalized. You were all alone. This is the most basic form of self-care. I learned chosen family. The people who saw my worth when I couldn't matter more than blood relations who tried to break me. By September 2024, Nexus Advisory's valuation hit $500 million. We announced our IPO. The hobby business that didn't matter was about to go public, exceeding Sterling Industries' market cap. I established the Sterling Foundation with $50 million of my own money, providing full-ride MBA scholarships for women who'd been told they weren't good enough. The first recipient was Marcus Coleman's daughter. My engagement to David Chun happened quietly. He'd been there through everything, never trying to fix or save me, just standing beside me as I saved myself. The chosen family I built became my real family. Eleanor Blackwood, Marcus Coleman, Jennifer Walsh. My employees. We gathered for Thanksgiving 2024 at my new home. Not a mansion, just a place filled with warmth and laughter. 23 people who'd earned their seats at my table through loyalty and love, not blood or obligation. Success is the best revenge, I toasted. But peace is the ultimate victory. David raised his glass. To Victoria, who showed us that sometimes the best way to clean house is to build a better one. This was what family was supposed to feel like. Looking back now, 3 months after that wedding where they labeled me housekeeper, I don't feel anger anymore. Just clarity. I spent 32 years trying to earn love that was never available, respect that was conditionally withheld, a place at a table that was always just out of reach. The sterling silver spoon I was supposedly born with turned out to be stainless steel, functional but never quite good enough for the sterling standard. But here's what Richard and Alexander never understood. Stainless steel doesn't tarnish. It doesn't need constant polishing to maintain its value. It's strong, practical, and resilient. Just like the daughter and sister they threw away, the empire they built on ego and embezzlement crumbled in a single morning. The family name they valued above actual family became synonymous with corporate fraud. Meanwhile, I built something real. A company based on integrity, relationships rooted in respect, a life where my worth isn't determined by those who refuse to see it. Your worth exists whether they acknowledge it or not. The family ring I returned to Richard that day, he tried to send it back. I auctioned it for charity, raising $30,000 for a women's shelter. That ring had been in the Sterling family for 4 generations, but it took leaving the family to finally do some good. I'm Victoria Sterling. I'm the housekeeper who cleaned house, and I've never been more proud of my name. Not because of who gave it to me, but because of what I made.